Okay guys, in our very last video we looked at graphing the parent logarithmic functions with a base b in general. What I want to look at here is how do we sketch a graph of the parent natural log function. So one thing I want you to do for yourselves is just really quickly here, let's acknowledge that this y equals ln of x is the same thing as y equals log base e of x. We just tend to not write it that way. But when it comes to graphing, I suppose your parent natural log function, one thing I want you to keep in mind is it's still of the form y equals log base b of x. So some things are going to be very, very similar about this graph compared to a general y equals log base b of x graph, which is first and foremost that it has an asymptote at x equals 0. Next up is just if I'm ever going to table values for the graph of a logarithmic function here, which is our ln of x, I'm going to plug in convenient values. So that means that we plug in 1. We plug in the base, whatever that is, e, and then we plug in 1 over the base here. And so some things, the ln of 1, what should I get? Well, e to the power of 0 would be equal to 1. Or in other words, the log of 1 is always 0. What if we did the ln of e? Well, e to the what equals e, it'd have to be 1. And if we did the ln of 1 over e, it's like saying, what could I take e to the power of to get 1 over e? I must have taken it to the negative 1 power to get it to move. So, graphing this, just keep in mind that e is approximately 2.718. It just means that we get a graph that looks like a parent logarithmic function, goes through 1, 0, but it also goes through 2.7 to the right and up 1. So that moves it in a little bit. And then 1 over e would be somewhere between 1 and 0. I just know that it would be closer to 0 than 1. And we get this graph that looks like this right here. And so some things to keep in mind. You can always, if you want to, choose whatever x values you want to plug into the ln function just because we have an ln key and we can always get decimals back. But it's important that we probably choose these three just out of convenience here. So this is what our graph of our natural log parent function looks like. You would be able to see now that if I ever wanted to go graph something like the ln of x minus 3 plus 1, I would really just go graph this graph here and then shift it right 3 and up 1. And I would have my new graph. Okay, cheers.